Did you know that people over 60 who consume certain meats just 3 times a week have a 43% higher risk of early death from cardiovascular causes? That's according to a massive Harvard study tracking over 120,000 individuals across 3 decades. It's not just about fat or salt anymore. The meats you've trusted for decades, those staples on your plate since childhood, could now be the very foods slowly destroying your heart, shrinking your brain, or even increasing your risk of dementia. What's worse, many of these meats are still being marketed as healthy for seniors. The science says otherwise, and it's terrifying. In the next few minutes, we're diving into 7 of the most harmful meats seniors are eating regularly without realizing the damage. Some are processed, some are fresh, and some are shockingly common in so-called heart-healthy diets. But the one at number 1. It's the most disturbing of all, linked directly to faster brain aging, memory loss, and a hidden neurotoxin almost no one talks about. And yes, it's probably in your fridge right now. But first, don't forget, if you care about staying sharp, strong, and healthy as you age, hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and share it with someone you care about. We dive deep into science-backed health topics to help you protect your body and mind. All right, let's start the countdown. Number 7, deli turkey. Now you might be thinking, wait, turkey? Isn't that lean and healthy? And you'd be right, to a point. The problem isn't turkey itself. It's the kind that comes sliced, sealed in plastic, and stacked behind the deli counter. Deli turkey, also called luncheon meat, is packed with sodium and nitrates. And for seniors, that combo can be deadly. Let's break this down. Sodium nitrate is a preservative used to keep deli meats pink and extend shelf life. But inside the human body, especially one over 60, it turns into something far more dangerous, nitrosamines. These compounds have been linked in studies to an increased risk of colon cancer, heart disease, and even type 2 diabetes. The American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that processed meats like deli turkey are associated with a 19% higher risk of early death. That's not a small number, and here's the real kicker. Seniors are more salt sensitive than younger people. That means your blood pressure can skyrocket faster, and your kidneys, already less efficient with age, struggle to clear the excess. Combine that with stiffening arteries and you've got a recipe for strokes and heart attacks. Plus, many deli meats contain added phosphates to enhance texture and moisture. These additives strain aging kidneys and have been associated with bone density loss. That's right, the turkey you thought was helping your bones might actually be weakening them. Shocking, right? Number 6, hot dogs, the backyard classic. For decades, hot dogs have been a symbol of summer fun, baseball games, and cookouts. But for seniors, they may be silently fueling dangerous inflammation. Let's talk about what's actually inside a hot dog. It's not just meat. It's a processed blend of pork, beef, chicken, preservatives, artificial flavors, and fillers. That mix is heated, emulsified, and formed into those familiar tubes. It sounds industrial because it is. A major concern is the extremely high levels of sodium and saturated fat, 2 key drivers of high blood pressure and atherosclerosis, the thickening and hardening of arteries. But the hidden threat lies in nitrates again. A study from the University of Hawaii found that people who ate the most processed meats, including hot dogs, were 67% more likely to develop pancreatic cancer. That's a disease with a 5-year survival rate of under 10%. And then there's the link to dementia. A recent UK biobank study involving 500,000 participants showed that eating just 25 grams of processed meat a day, about 1 small hot dog, was associated with a 44% increased risk of developing Alzheimer's. For older adults, especially those already concerned about memory, that's terrifying. The combination of processed meat toxins and age-related brain vulnerability is a ticking time bomb. But what makes hot dogs particularly dangerous is how easy they are to eat. Soft, salty, and comforting. They don't seem like a threat, but they are. Especially for seniors trying to reduce their cancer risk, preserve cognitive function, or manage heart health. And no, switching to turkey dogs, or organic versions, doesn't eliminate the risk. They still contain nitrates and often just as much sodium. You're not escaping the danger, you're just dressing it up. Number 5. Bacon. Now this one hits hard. Bacon is loved by millions. Crispy, savory, and irresistible. It's often seen as a breakfast treat or indulgent add-on. But for seniors, bacon is practically a health landmine. And not just because of fat. Let's go deeper. The saturated fat in bacon, especially pork bacon, is high in palmitic acid. This compound has been shown to increase LDL cholesterol, the bad kind, and reduce HDL, the good kind. That's a 1-2 punch to your arteries. But the real danger. Once again, it's nitrosamines. When bacon is cooked at high temperatures, like frying or broiling, these cancer-causing compounds are formed. In fact, bacon contains among the highest levels of nitrosamines of any processed meat. The World Health Organization classified processed meats, including bacon, as Group 1 carcinogens, meaning there's sufficient evidence they cause cancer in humans. Not maybe, not might. They do. And for older adults, the risks multiply. Studies have found links between high processed meat intake and increased risk of colorectal cancer, a major concern for those over 60. Plus, bacon's high salt content can lead to fluid retention, bloating, and elevated blood pressure, especially dangerous if you're already on diuretics or heart medications. Even so-called reduced sodium or uncured bacon options are often misleading. Uncured still means it was preserved, with natural nitrates from celery or beets, which can still form nitrosamines in the body. And here's something few talk about. Bacon also contains advanced glycation end products, AGEs. These compounds form during high heat cooking and have been linked to accelerated aging, joint pain, and inflammation. For seniors dealing with arthritis, fatigue, or brain fog, bacon might be fanning the flames. It's not just breakfast anymore. It's a daily dose of toxic exposure. Number 4. Rotisserie chicken. Now this one might really surprise you. Rotisserie chicken, especially the kind you pick up pre-cooked from the grocery store, is often thought of as a healthy choice. It's lean protein, right? No frying, no breading, no processed casing. But let's take a closer look, because the truth behind that golden skin is far more disturbing than you'd think. First off, most store-bought rotisserie chickens are injected with a solution of sodium, phosphates, flavor enhancers, and preservatives to keep the meat juicy, tender, and visually appealing for hours under a heat lamp. These solutions can increase the sodium content to over 500 milligrams per serving. For a senior, that's a serious problem. Remember, high sodium intake is directly linked to increased risk of high blood pressure, stroke, and heart failure, conditions already more prevalent with age. But here's where it gets even more concerning. Many of these chickens contain added sodium phosphate, an additive used to improve moisture retention. It sounds harmless, but in older adults with declining kidney function, phosphate buildup can lead to serious complications like vascular calcification. That means hardened arteries. Yes, the very thing you're trying to avoid by eating lean chicken might be accelerating your risk of heart disease. Also, let's talk about the skin. That crispy, flavorful skin you peel off and sneak before dinner. It's loaded with oxidized fats and AGEs, advanced glycation end products, the same compounds we mentioned earlier with bacon. These are formed when meat is cooked at high, dry temperatures. AGEs promote inflammation throughout the body and have been linked to diabetes, Alzheimer's disease, and kidney damage. The skin acts like a sponge for them. And if you think going skinless makes it safe, think again. Studies show that phosphate additives and sodium still penetrate into the meat. Unless you're buying fresh chicken and roasting it yourself with minimal ingredients, store-bought rotisserie chicken is a hidden danger on your dinner table. Especially for seniors with blood pressure, heart, or kidney concerns, it's not a safe bet at all. Now, before we continue with the next meats, and trust me, the next ones are even scarier, make sure you've subscribed, liked the video, and shared it with someone who needs to hear this. This channel is all about uncovering science-backed truths the food industry doesn't want you to know. And if you've made it this far, you're clearly serious about your health. Let's keep going. Number 3. Corned beef. Corned beef is one of those traditional favorites, especially around certain holidays or as a nostalgic family dish. It has that tender, briny flavor that people love, often served with cabbage or stuffed into a sandwich. But corned beef is essentially a textbook example of how meat processing can turn a simple cut of beef into a toxic trigger for disease. Let's start with the obvious: salt. Corned beef is cured in a heavy salt brine, often for days, before it's cooked. A single serving can contain over 1,000 milligrams of sodium. That's more than 40% of a senior's daily limit in one sitting. And remember, many older adults are already dealing with hypertension or taking medications that increase salt sensitivity. Combine that with naturally stiffening arteries, and the aging cardiovascular system becomes highly vulnerable. But it doesn't stop there. Corned beef is usually preserved with sodium nitrite, the same compound used in hot dogs and deli meats. Once again, this forms nitrosamines in the body, carcinogenic compounds that have been linked to gastrointestinal cancers. A study in the journal Nutrition and Cancer found that processed red meat, particularly those high in nitrates, was significantly associated with colorectal cancer risk. Corned beef is also high in heme iron, the type found in red meat. While iron is important, too much heme iron, especially in older adults, can lead to oxidative stress. That means increased free radicals in the body, which damage cells, accelerate aging, and may even increase the risk of neurodegenerative diseases like Parkinson's and Alzheimer's. Seniors need some iron, but corned beef delivers it in a form and quantity that may be harmful over time. And one more thing: many store-bought or restaurant corned beef products are cooked or reheated on griddles at high temperatures. This creates polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, PHs, and heterocyclic amines, HCAs, both compounds linked to cancer in animal studies and suspected to raise human cancer risk as well. You're not just eating meat, you're eating chemistry experiments with long-term consequences. Number 2, sausage. Sausage is one of the most deceptive meats on this list. It can look artisanal, homemade, rustic. Some are packed into natural casings. Others are labeled as organic or all natural. But no matter how it's made, sausage presents a triple threat for seniors: fat, salt, and chemicals. Let's start with fat. Sausage typically contains up to 30% fat by weight, much of it saturated fat. Saturated fat raises LDL cholesterol, which promotes plaque buildup in arteries. For seniors, especially those already dealing with cardiovascular risk, this can dramatically increase the likelihood of a heart attack or stroke. A study published in The Lancet found that high intake of saturated fat from processed meats like sausage is strongly associated with coronary heart disease in older populations. Then there's the salt. One link of sausage can contain over 600 milligrams of sodium, and let's be honest, who stops at just one? Salt raises blood pressure, stiffens arteries, and increases the workload on the heart and kidneys. In fact, researchers at Johns Hopkins found that reducing sodium intake in seniors significantly reduced their risk of hospitalization due to heart failure. That's how important it is. But perhaps most concerning is the presence of preservatives and fillers. Many sausages, especially the cheaper or mass-produced varieties, include nitrites, MSG, sugar, and artificial flavor enhancers. Some even include textured soy protein, which can be genetically modified and hard to digest. These additives don't just make the sausage taste better, they change how your body processes it. Some chemicals in processed meats have been linked to insulin resistance, which raises the risk of type 2 diabetes. And if that wasn't enough, sausages are often grilled or pan-fried, creating HCAs and PHs. These compounds, as we mentioned, are associated with cancer risk. They're formed when meat is exposed to high heat, and especially when it's charred. That smoky, burnt edge you might love. It could be delivering carcinogens directly to your digestive system. Sausage is also tricky because it often disguises itself. It's not just a breakfast side. It's in pasta sauces, casseroles, pizzas, and soups. It hides in your meals, bringing with it a cocktail of harmful compounds that accumulate over time. For seniors, whose bodies are less resilient to toxins and inflammation, this slow buildup becomes a silent but powerful danger. Number 1. Liver. Now this might seem totally upside down to some of you. Liver. Isn't that the superfood your doctor or grandparents always swore by? High in vitamins, great for energy, loaded with iron, right? Well, That's the paradox. While liver is rich in nutrients like vitamin A, B12, iron, and copper, it's also the one meat most likely to do real, silent, and irreversible damage to seniors, especially when eaten regularly. Let's start with vitamin A toxicity. Liver contains astronomical levels of performed vitamin A, also called retinol. Unlike beta carotene from plants, this form of vitamin A is stored in the liver and doesn't get flushed out easily. A single 3-ounce serving of beef liver contains over 6,500 micrograms of vitamin A. That's more than 700% of a senior's daily upper limit, and the consequences of overconsumption: bone thinning, liver stress, fatigue, and even vision problems. Studies from the NIH show that chronically elevated levels of vitamin A in older adults are strongly linked to increased risk of osteoporosis and hip fractures. That's not a small deal. One fall could change your life. Then there's iron overload. While iron deficiency is a real issue for some seniors, the flip side is often ignored. Beef liver is incredibly high in heme iron, and too much of it can cause a condition called iron overload or hemochromatosis, a toxic buildup of iron in the organs. This condition is particularly dangerous for seniors because it can quietly damage the liver, heart, and pancreas over years without any noticeable symptoms until the damage is done. This toxic iron accumulation accelerates oxidative stress, a biological process that ages cells faster and increases the risk of chronic diseases like heart failure, liver disease, and neurodegenerative conditions. But what makes liver especially terrifying for older brains is a little-known compound called copper. Liver, particularly beef and lamb liver, contains very high levels of copper, which in excess can be harmful to the brain. A study published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences found that elevated copper levels in the brain were linked to the accumulation of beta amyloid plaques, those same sticky protein clumps found in Alzheimer's patients. This isn't speculation. This is hard science showing a clear connection between excess copper, aging, and cognitive decline. And here's the final kicker. The liver is literally the detox organ of animals. It filters toxins, drugs, pesticides, and chemicals from the bloodstream. While it doesn't store all toxins indefinitely, residues of heavy metals and pollutants can accumulate, especially in animals raised in non-organic industrial settings. That means if you're eating conventional beef or pork liver, you're potentially exposing yourself to trace amounts of toxic residues collected over the animal's lifetime. You're not just eating a vitamin-rich organ, you're eating a lifetime of exposures. It's hard to imagine that a meat once seen as medicinal could be so dangerous, but the evidence is overwhelming. For seniors, especially those with weaker bones, slower detox systems, and vulnerable brains, liver might be the single riskiest meat on the plate, and the scariest part. It's still being recommended by some health influencers without proper warnings. You deserve to know the truth, and now you do. That was a lot to take in, I know. These 7 meats, from deli turkey to liver, aren't just questionable choices. For seniors, they can quietly and systematically erode your health from the inside out. They increase your risk of heart disease, cancer, dementia, fractures, and organ damage. They hide behind labels like natural, lean, or high protein, but when you zoom in on the research, the dangers become painfully clear. The good news: awareness is the first step. You can make small, powerful changes today that protect your brain, your heart, and your future. Swap out these meats for cleaner proteins like lentils, wild-caught fish, pasture-raised eggs, or organic plant-based alternatives. Learn to read ingredient lists. Get curious about how your food is made. The choices you make in your 60s, 70s, or 80s can still have massive impact on how long and how well you live. So before you go, please do this. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Like the video if you learned something eye-opening, and share it with someone who needs this knowledge. Maybe it's a friend, a parent, or even your doctor. Every share can literally save a life. Now we want to hear from you. Which of these 7 meats shocked you the most with its hidden health risks? Or is there a meat you've already decided to cut out of your diet for better health? Share with us your experiences and opinions in the comments below. We'd love to hear them. Thanks for watching.